Hi, I'm Kate Ward, and this is your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. And today I'm talking about transplanting and dividing. So those two things are things that we like to do this time of year. What time of year is it? It's October. So instead of taking you out in the landscape, I brought you my miniature landscape because it's very easy to show you how to do those kinds of things right here. So let's pretend that this is your landscape. Well, what's the difference between transplanting and dividing? Well, one precipitates the other, generally. So for instance, this is a dwarf miniature hosta. And say you had a hosta or a perennial that was getting too big in your yard. Well, this is the time of year, September, October, beginning of November, that it is appropriate to transplant and divide, or divide and transplant, perennials. So if I wanted to do that, I can show you on this particular plant, we would take off a piece. So if it was too big here, I would take my digger, and in this case, this happens to be a handy trowel, and I would divide off by digging down and finding out, would actually press into here, divide off, hiya, and I would push away and pull out a piece that I want to transplant. So here I am, I'm digging down, I looked, I found it, and now I have this piece. It's separate from the others, and that's dividing. So I've divided off. Now, what do you get through division? You get more than one thing. So now I could take this piece of perennial and I could transplant it. If I wanted to put a hosta in this location, and imagine this is your garden, then we could then dig down, you'd make your hole. You want it to be as deep as where it came from in the yard originally. So I'd put it just there, no deeper, shallower if you have to, and then I'd fill it around, I'd tamp it down in, water it in, and off I'd go. That's the very basics of how to move and divide a perennial. So these are all perennials that I have here as well. But if in your landscape you have a shrub, you can't divide shrubs, but you can transplant them. And it is beginning to come into the time to do that. However, usually we try to transplant shrubbery late in the season. So we do that actually in November. A good indicator for when to do that is when all the leaves are falling from the big trees. Then things are truly going dormant, and you can go ahead and dig around the root system, around to the drip line, which is the furthest edge, if you can do it, from where the water would fall and drip off. And that's your drip line, because that's where your roots are, and we go chunka, 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 all the way around our plant. We'd get that root line, we'd dig it out, we'd move it, and we'd replace it into its new home, tamping it down, watering it in. What can we use when we're going to do that? We'd use things here like this plant starter on my right or Neptune's Harvest on my left. Those two things are going to help with transplanting, with root development for those plants. If you have poor soils, you could use something like the soil conditioner. That's going to improve heavy clay soils. And then remember, Mother Nature needs to water in. It's a great time of year to get those roots growing. So go ahead, get ready for division, get ready for and start doing that. Get ready for moving your big shrubs and get ready to plant some new, because it's a great time for root growth. Until we see you again, this has been your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip.